I lived somewhere before, in New York, and I knew some of the people who worked in those towers. Within 24 hours of the attack, Con Edison had 140 crews in Lower Manhattan. Within the period that it took to restore power in our neighborhoods, they laid 33 miles of high voltage cable and restored the power on the streets, in the trenches. They built to shield the wire. That was in addition to the fact that they had to disentangle from the debris the lines that had existed before. That isn't a level of service we can expect from Pepco, of course. And now we found in this derecho, since it's always dealt with as a one-off, as our British friend might have said, this is only, oh, this event. This isn't a systemic thing. This isn't pattern and practice. This is a unique event, we are always told. Well, in this unique event, there were many nursing homes that did not have power for more than 48 hours. And by state law, they are supposed to move those people by the time they're without power for so long. Well, the people may die if they stay there, and they may very well die if they are moved. For all the talk about priorities, they didn't accomplish anything in that category either. We could talk about the fire that took place in front of my home. That's small potatoes. The tendency is to look at the micro issues, not the macro issues. And then there was the question of the pumping stations. We came perilously close to the circumstance where the backup would fail. The generators would fail. And then we would have a public health crisis. And it would be known across the nation much more than the recent storm was known. That in the Washington, D.C. area, there was a health crisis. You couldn't drink the water. This isn't Haiti. This is not Haiti. But that is the peril we have. And it's getting worse each time. And there will be dead bodies because of it. Now, this is a systemic problem. And as I said, it's not a one-off. A man named Norman Augustine, chair of Lockheed, with a distinguished business career, came to this county on a prior such occasion, and with a work group did an analysis. Now, you know, he's described the world. The problem is to change it. But his working group report has been aggressively ignored by those who have the power and the authority to do something about it. The Public Service Commission is at great peril of being seen like the piano player in the whorehouse who says, I didn't know what was going on. I recognize in that report there was a strong statement that the PSC should be staffed up, that you should have the degree of staffing and the level of competency that would allow you to deal with a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But they said something quite specific about financing. After saying that Pepco's performance under major and non-major events can be judged inferior by any reasonable standard, they went on to say that the PSC should establish stringent standards and utilize its authority to impose remedies sufficient to align Pepco's financial interests with those of the community. It has not done so. And they said, while much needs to be accomplished by Pepco itself, the single most important action that can be taken by those outside the company is to establish a package of aggressive financial incentives and consequences that better align Pepco's priorities with those of the community. Now, this is a monopoly situation. And I remember long ago when I went to law school and took a course on public utilities and heard about captive agencies. You've got to find a way, if you mean to do your job, of substituting for the lack of market mechanisms. You've got to do what the commission, what the working group suggested. There should be no conflict between earnings and outage performance. Any financial consequences should be sufficient to eliminate any utility tendency to cut necessary expenses in order to increase profits. The fact is that the front lines, the linesmen, have been cut by 50% in the last 20 years. They've decided, oh, we can bring in contract labor on an ad hoc basis. We don't need to maintain. We don't need to have people here. Hey, the basic law of negligence is if you could foresee it, you're responsible for it. It's quite clear to those who want to open their eyes that you must see it. You must see, and you must take, you know, I know this is a quasi-judicial body, you must take judicial notice of what every common citizen knows and act as the Augustine group suggested. You know, it's there. It's on the record. You've had a consultant look into it. The Office of the People's Counsel will have to decide which peoples it's for, because it's had a consultant go forward too. I taught management for over 13 years. This is a case of utter abstinence in management on the part of those who have the legal authority to make sure which way the wind is blowing.